This is going to be your best
Listen.
podcast ever.
Epicurean, but OFC and pink lemonade's pretty damn good. It'll put your boat in the marsh. Jesus did not die so you could eat yellow number 5. Excitable.
The nose starts off gentle with noticeable sense of grain that takes shape in the form of fresh baked bread.
Ma'am, you're in the wrong podcast. Educated-ish. I have used the term overproof for so long without really knowing what it
constitutes.
Because for
Is
me,
there a definition officially?
welcome to Bitches and Bourbon. And we're live. Hello, Reba. How are you doing today, ma'am?
I'm doing better now that the rain has stopped.
Oh no, hold your breath, baby. I think it's coming back.
No, I'm talking about even just this breather. Like, I'm good to be out of bed right now.
It's great. The weather has been terrible. So as you may know, we record from what should be sunny coastal Georgia, and it has been anything but sunny for like a week.
Yes.
It's just been horrific, and I don't do well with weather. So whatever. I'm fine. You're fine. We're fine. Everybody's fine. But yes, getting out of the bed is a little terrible. Honestly, today's bottle doesn't make it any easier because for a while, this was the bourbon bottle I kept on my bedside table.
Yes.
Because it's just that good. It's just that easy.
Yes.
It's the perfect bedside table bottle. I mean, I don't know if that's a thing that people do. It happens to be a thing that I do, so whatever. So today, without further ado, we are talking about a brand that I feel like we've done an episode about before, but we haven't. We just talk about it so often
Yes.
that it feels like we have done an episode on it before, and that is Penelope.
Penelope.
I love saying it. I think Penelope is just a beautiful name. I love that name. I love to drink it. We have had a whole bunch of different varieties of it, and
Yes.
I've never had anything from them that I don't like. And so today, Reba and I are trying nothing new. It is the Penelope Straight Bourbon Whiskey. It is, I guess they may not call it, but I would call it like their flagship
Yes.
brand.
I
Like,
would agree.
It is the standard Penelope.
Like the baseline for...
I have a problem with the word baseline because it's just so good. And I just feel like baseline has like a connotation to it.
Well, it was not intended for that, but I understand what you mean.
Yeah, and I know that, and I knew that, but I only mentioned it because the same word popped into my head and my brain kicked it out. It was like, I don't like it because it's just not, I don't think Penelope, hasn't been a bottle of Penelope that I've had that I would call baseline.
Okay.
I will tell you what I do like. Never disappoints. Now that we've gotten that out the way, because
Yes.
I was just sitting there.
So smooth.
It is delicious. It is
Mellow.
absolutely fantastic. The thing that I will tell you that I really like about Penelope is part of what goes to the genesis of this particular podcast is when you have, if you are someone or if you have someone where bourbon whiskey hasn't been their thing, or they want it to be their thing, or they would just try to like explore the option of whiskey being a thing for them, Penelope is just a fantastic bottle to start with.
Yes.
Not the Architect.
No, not the Architect. And honestly, I would not even recommend any of the so-called flavored profile ones, like the toasted. I mean, we'll get into the variety, but I really would, like, this is the one that you should get as the gift, is just the Penelope Bourbon Straight Bourbon Whiskey.
Unless you're buying it for me,
Yes.
then I prefer the Architect. The Architect does happen to be my favorite Penelope offering to date. So if it's me, Architect. Big blue label, can't miss it. But yes, if you're talking about somebody who is just like entry into bourbon, this is really the way to go.
Or want a nice gift idea. What was the price on this one?
The price point on that one is $35.99. That's what I paid for it.
Yes.
But I will tell you that BoozApp was very interesting on this particular bottle because the average MSRP is $34.99. I paid $35.99. My husband's cutting the grass, which we're not going to stop, by the way. Because remember I told you all the rain.
Yes.
Anyway, BoozApp has the average MSRP at $34.99. I paid $35.99. BoozApp has the shelf price at $38.91.
Wow.
And then somewhere out of left field, we have a fair price of $52.63. And so
Although I will say I'd pay $50 for that.
yeah, I don't know that I would necessarily pay $60 for it. Maybe I would because I really like it. But that's the same price point as the Architect. And so if I'm looking at two bottles and I'm going to buy one and that one is 60 and the Architect is 60, I'm buying only because I prefer the Architect, right? But for other...
But like if that's 60, I mean, would you consider 45 to 50?
Maybe.
Easier?
Maybe, except for it. Here's the real truth. Like, it's beautiful. And I don't want to say anything that makes it sound like I don't have anything but love for Penelope because I absolutely have nothing but love for Penelope. But we're talking about an 80 proof, delicious bottle of whiskey that's absolutely fine. It's still young.
Yes.
And if I'm going over $40, $50, I don't know why. Because
there's a lot of options.
There's a ton of options, right? And so
I like that price point of
I think so too.
$35.
I think it was really smart. I think it was really smart on their end to not price themselves because what they've really been able to do, I think, is I would tell you I don't know that you could find a better bottle
for in that price range.
Yes. Right? Maybe you could find a couple that are equivalent, but they definitely hold, that's what I'll say.
Yes.
They definitely hold their own.
Yes.
At that price point
Agreed.
and that price range. At a time when Buffalo Trace is currently overpriced and hard to find, Eagle Rare. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say Eagle Rare is overpriced because every time I've seen it, it's that $40 range. And I think that's probably pretty appropriate for a 10-year Eagle Rare.
Agreed.
I think Eagle Rare was probably underpriced for quite some time. Until the world found it.
Yes.
But it's also hard to find.
Very.
Blanton's isn't even in the discussion anymore because whatever happened there, I'm confused.
Which is weird. Like, it has to be an allocation thing. Because husband was just talking about, how according to just, Blanton's said nothing has changed about, like, we're not behind on, limiting our releasing of it. So it has to be like an allocation thing of we just don't get, I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
But if Blanton's isn't changing anything, then the allocation shouldn't be an issue, right? Because if they're still making everything that we're making.
Well, I know that there's more people interested in it now as it was with Eagle Rare.
And I think that's the point, right?
Yes.
I think that for whatever reason, Blanton's became this, oh my God, whiskey.
Yeah.
So it goes from, I think we were paying $40, $50 a bottle to then we paid
$90.
And then we were like, oh, I'll pay $90 for it. And then you're seeing it in the store for like $300 and you can keep it.
Yes.
Like your allocation is not going to be an issue if that's the price you have
Never,
on it. Because
ever would I ever.
ever would I ever.
Yes.
Right. There was the one time that my brother paid over $100 for it, a little bit over, not much, but a little. And I was like, why the hell did you do that? And he said, because I wanted to. And that's the only reason you should ever do that. We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
But
I think that's also why, at least I don't frequent it, but the times that I do go in, oftentimes I will see other Penelope varieties available, not so much this one. This one I don't feel like is as easily kept in stock.
yeah,
Probably for the similar reason of it being an easier drink. It's not as,
and 36
punch you in the
bucks.
face, and it's reasonably priced.
It's absolutely reasonably priced. And so there's a lot of things I like about Penelope, and I'm so glad that this is the one that we were doing today because I love doing research. Mm-hmm. That should be like just a thing that we just say every single time because I'm pretty sure I say it every single time. And Oh, before I tell you my groundbreaking news, I'm gonna go ahead and put ice in mine.
Okay. I'd love to try it with that.
Well, I mean, I know I like it that way, and I just want ice.
Although I do have and love the picture of you drinking the Penelope straight out the bottle.
At the bar.
At the bar. At the end of Bourbon Club.
It was pretty great. That's a pretty great picture. But I think I'd like to move to ice now because it's 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And so we're not really talking about nightcaps, and we're not really talking about, like, it's still daylight outside. So my body just feels like it would like a whiskey on ice.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds great.
All right. Now that we have that taken care of, my body also feels like I'd like a little more whiskey on this ice. So we always talk about how transparency in the whiskey industry can be a little lax in places where you can't find mash bill and who the actual distiller is and where the product is coming from and those kinds of things. Well, Penelope has never really been that brand. They've always been a non-distilling producer, right? And their product has almost exclusively, maybe exclusively come from MGP, right? Well, MGP just bought Penelope.
Like recently?
Like, it came out last month, May, and it should be final this month, June, maybe final already. MGP paid $105 million.
Holy shit.
For Penelope. And when it's all said and done, there's some projected things that the final dollar amount is based on. $215 million by the time it's all said and done is possible for it to happen.
Wow.
And I thought that was pretty good. That was a pretty good pregnancy birthed bourbon, right?
Will it remain called Penelope?
Oh, sure. Oh, I'm sure it would. They'd be idiots to do anything different. And I think that the guys that run it are still going to be kind of in charge of it. I'm not really sure about all of the particulars of the deal. But I was like, well, this is pretty good because this brand's only been around since 2018.
Yeah.
So, and as always,
that's impressive to have been able to establish that in that short of time.
Oh, absolutely.
And be able to sell it for that?
Absolutely.
Named after the founder's daughter, like.
And she wasn't even like so Mike and Carrie Palladini were 4 months pregnant with a daughter named Penelope. And he decided that he was going to do this tour of MGP. And he'd gotten on the phone with the guys, and they were like, hey, do you want to come up and visit? And he's like, yes. And like, bring somebody with you. So he had kind of like thrown it out to a couple of his friends. And one of his close friends actually said, I'm in, but let me check with my wife first. But then his other friend, Danny Pelosi, I think that's how you say his last name. Anyway, his other friend, Danny Pelosi, said, I'm in. And there was no check with my wife. It was just, I'm in. And so he got to be the plus one. And so now he's the co-founder and they're co-founders of this Penelope bourbon, which I think is because neither one of them were they were not whiskey people.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're both from Jersey.
So, they did not go on this tour with the thoughts of, or they wanted to learn more to see if they could?
I think they wanted to learn more so they could see if they could, but they never had before.
Wow.
Like, Mike was in the tech field. He had worked for Salesforce, founded a mattress company with his brother or something like that.
Wow.
And then Daniel, who is my favorite, only because in the team picture on their website, he's holding the Architect bottle. That is just how much I love the Architect. But so Danny was a mechanical engineer. Like he was building buildings and like these huge HVAC systems and stuff for these buildings.
Wow.
So things that I love when I do research is I'm reminded of things that I always meant to do, right? Mm-hmm. Because 12 times a day, I go, oh my God, I want to do that. Oh my God, I want to do that. And so there is this Bourbon Pursuit podcast who one of the hosts is Fred Minnick, who is a pretty big name. Every time I look for something about bourbon education or bourbon whiskey knowledge, like his name is always attached to it.
Okay.
But they have a podcast, him and Kenny Coleman and Ryan Cecil have a podcast called Bourbon Pursuit. And I always meant, I caught the name on a different podcast. I was driving, and I always meant to go back. But during my research, I found an episode with Mike and Danny on the Bourbon Pursuit podcast, and it was a great show. And so then I remembered, because I was sitting still, to subscribe to it. So I'm super excited about that. But it's called the Bourbon Pursuit. Great podcast. But so we're sitting there, and I'm sitting there, and I'm listening to it, and it was just such a great show. They literally knew nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
Like they were like, oh, it was like Jim Beam and Coke, and a lot of our friends still aren't going to drink our stuff because they're like, nah, dude, we're good. And it was just so interesting to listen to them talk about all the things they didn't know.
Yeah.
And to kind of what that took to kind of grow that business. And it almost felt like the universe was conspiring.
Right. Like it was all just meant to be because.
Well, I mean, for me, like, good for them.
Oh, yeah.
Like, good for them. The universe has done their shit with them. Like they just sold their fucking company for $100 million. Like they're good. Right. But I mean, like for me, because my schedule is all off.
Yes.
I have no school. So I'm a little listless on where to do and what to do. So I finally started the project where I go back through all of our episodes. And one of the things I've learned is I'm not going to say we're going to circle back to that, because what I've learned is I probably won't. Or there's a 50-50 shot that I am not going to circle back to that thing on that episode. So maybe I shouldn't say that anymore. But I have started the project where like I go through all the episodes and I listen to them all and I figure out where we've been, what we've done, what we still need to do, maybe things we were wrong on, maybe things we weren't so clear on, maybe things that were a little breezed over.
Because we've been learning as we go as well.
Oh boy, have we.
Yes.
So I am listening to some of the very first episodes, and they weren't even episodes.
Well, we didn't know what the hell we were doing at all.
Not that we really do now, but listening back to those other ones, I remember they were like, we never intended to release them, right? Remember?
Yes, yeah.
And we were like, these are just test episodes. We're just going to go check it and then see how it works. And then maybe because I was on pain meds from surgery, I'm like, fuck it, we'll just release them all. It's fine. And maybe that wasn't the best choice because some of them are pretty bad. But
we had to start somewhere.
We had to start, and that's what I really loved. Like we had to start somewhere. But then this thing turns into, now I've got these pages of notes, and now I'm trying to figure out how do I organize them into A, something that's useful, B, something that's actionable, and what do we do on podcasts from here on out to kind of make this something that's user friendly for people, right? And so I'll admit to feeling a tinky bit overwhelmed, outclassed, because we talked about that the last episode, where there's so many people that know way more than
why come listen to us,
why show up, why even do it.
Yeah.
And so I was feeling a tad bit overwhelmed, but then as to, well, we're going to do this Penelope one, and of course I'm not going to quit doing it because I just love it, right? And so I'm doing the research for this Penelope one, and then I stumble across this podcast. And it's great, right? So you've got two guys that just sold their company to MGP for more money than
after 5 years
I know what to do with, right? Yes. In the meantime, while they're birthing this Penelope, these two guys' families are birthing 5 children. So like Penelope has a younger brother. Danny has a son, and then his wife just had like 2 twin girls. So since Penelope has been born as a brand, these 2 men have gone from a family of 0 to 5 kids between them, right?
Wow.
I mean, there's a lot going on there.
A lot of developing.
I mean, like, speaking about being overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But it was really neat talking to these guys, not talking, but listening to these guys talk about their moments of being overwhelmed and their moments of feeling like they didn't know. One of the funniest things was
starting at ground zero.
Yeah, one of them was talking about how when they were first starting to put their bottles and stuff together, and the guy was like, well, what is your blending process? And he's like, blending process? He goes, but that's what you're here for. Like,
right.
And Mike literally says, it might have been Mike, might have been Danny, I don't know which one, but one of them literally says, blending was a blind spot for us. And I'm like, oh my God.
We're not alone.
I'm like,
regardless of the realm of it,
and we're just doing a bullshit podcast. Like, they're
Yeah.
putting up real money,
Yes.
right, to buy real barrels for real production. And they're like, blending was a blind spot.
What's that?
It's like, I'm like, there is hope for us yet. So it was a super cool story. It was a really great episode of this podcast to listen to. I really kind of liked it. And then I'm thinking about, because I had just listened to them yesterday. I listened to like 5 or 6 of them yesterday, and I'm thinking about like our technical, like the sound quality in some of them are kind of shitty. I mean, it was before I was really good at making the sound even out
Yes.
and making
understanding how it all works.
Yes. And so the guys tell a story about when they're running, they're doing a bottle run. And he was like, we didn't even know all the questions to ask. And one of the questions they did not ask was, hey, what bottle did you run before ours? Because evidently the line didn't get cleaned out. They didn't think to ask any of those questions. Well, the bottle that had been run before
Yeah.
was a jalapeno tequila. So now, and I really, I need to contact that guy that we talked to on TikTok, the guy from Penelope, because
Yes.
they alluded to the fact that they still, and he goes, we just put jalapeno on the label. And he alluded to the fact that they still have some of that. I would love that.
That would be very interesting.
I would love that. I think I could make one of the best old fashions out of that in the history of the free world. No cherries, right? No cherries.
Yes.
A little bit of jalapeno bourbon with a little bit of chipotle bitters. Like, I think I could make something really special.
I'd be down to try that.
I think I'd be.
We should definitely reach out.
I think so, because if they have any of that, I think that would be super cool.
That would be fun. So, are they using the same bottle? Was it a mold? Like, is that what it was?
No, it's just the lines, like the bottling lines or whatever.
That just puts the liquid in the bottle.
Yeah, and
okay.
And jalapeno. I mean, there's oils and everything, right? And it's a jalapeno, right? That's not just gonna. And then they were talking about there was another time when only one of the lines had something weird. So 1 out of every 8 bottles was like fucked up or whatever, and it was just super cool to listen to these guys talk about their journey and what they've done and how they've come to be and all of these different kind of things. And now we've got all of these different offerings. And I don't know that we'll get to all of them tonight.
No.
As a matter of fact, I know that we will not. We will not get to all of them tonight. But I did think that a couple of them were super interesting. So one that we were talking about earlier was the Rosé cask finish.
Yes.
And so that should be kind of interesting.
That one is the only other one that we have seen in person that is not overproofed.
Yeah, because everything else that we have is overproof. So
100 plus.
100 plus.
100 plus.
Which I'm not mad at it.
Oh no, but that's also another reason why this particular, the Penelope Bourbon Straight, is the nightstand bottle.
Yes.
How did you pronounce the T one?
Oh. So that one, it depends on who you talk to. So it's a region in Hungary. It's a Hungarian wine, and the different ways is Tokaj,
Okay.
Tokaj,
Okay.
or Tokai.
Okay.
The ones that seem to have the most vehemence behind it, and like I've been to Hungary, and this is what the Hungarians say.
Yes.
Is the Tokaj.
Okay, so the Tokaj, the Rosé cask, and the toasted, all of them are more of the handwritten, kind of like it varies as you go, whereas the architect and the straight seems like it is the same every time because the label, like it's printed, that's on the label when it's printed, if that makes sense.
Right. So what you're thinking, see, I didn't look at it that way. See, what I was thinking was that's just label design. And like when they print it, that's what it looks like. I don't know that they would print the label and then run it back through and
No.
print the proof on it. And I'm certain they're not handwritten.
I do think that it has something to do with variation.
Oh, yes. I would think that would be a pretty cool marketing thing to kind of do. But
Like
who
a
knows?
typed font
Looks different than a handwritten.
meaning consistency versus a handwritten type of font, meaning it varies.
Yes, and it's interesting that you use that word consistency, because that was the exact same word that the guys used when they were talking about their straight bourbon, the Penelope that we're drinking right now. This was always intended. Jesus Christ!
That was unexpected.
I fucking hate weather.
I know.
Oh my God. Sorry.
You
Apologies.
cutting it out? You'll be
It
all
started.
right?
Oh, I might leave that in there. Let's get to know me real well. Like when I'm telling you that
First-hand experience.
when I tell you that me and
Second.
weather do not get along, like seriously, I need it plus 80 degrees and like only the really pretty light fluffy clouds, like a blue fucking sky. Like that's what I need. Period. Period.
Picture perfect.
That's it.
day.
For me, that's picture perfect. That's not
Yes.
picture perfect for everybody. I know people that love this shit. I know people that love it when it's cold.
Yeah.
No.
I'm on the same page
Plus
as you.
80, thinnest. Oh, fucking hate thunder and lightning. Thinnest whisper of clouds. That's all I need. Thinnest. I'm glad we're drinking today.
Cheers.
This makes me very happy. So, anywho, the label, yes. I think you're probably right. I think it probably does speak to a suggestion of variance to pay closer
I
attention.
mean, obviously, we do have some level of proof because of the.
I hope so.
The difference of
because
the
now,
toasted.
Because now I'm worried that maybe it's a typo on my end. Like, who knows?
No,
but I think I
believe
remember
we
it
talked
being.
about. I thought we
yes.
talked about the last time we had it of it being overproofed. And I'm not talking about just 100.
I don't know, but we may open up that damn architect. This fucking lightning keeps
I
happening.
would love to try the one that neither of us have tried, the Tokoi.
the Tokoi.
Tokoi.
Yeah, that'd be great. So the Tokoi.
We don't have to drink a lot, but
That's
just
fine.
a taste.
That's fine. So the Tokoi, it's a Hungarian wine. I will go ahead and say, and this is for you guys that are like, when you go to start your whiskey journey, this is the way my brain works.
Yes.
I'm concerned a little because I love Penelope. I'm not a fan of sweet.
Right.
And this particular variation of Hungarian wine is known for its sweetness. So
Okay.
I'll be very curious to see how this one pans out.
Well, I do think that it's safe to say I am confident in the fact that it's not going to deter us from continuing to love all of the other Penelopes that we love.
Oh, yeah, you let Penelope
Yeah,
keep putting out Architect.
right,
I'm going to
right.
keep buying Penelope.
Right.
Like, I love that bottle.
Yes.
And I'm really kind of hoping I like it, at least mostly, because I paid almost $90 for it. So,
Was that the most expensive one?
I think maybe. And I wish I had done better, but I'm not really sure. It was the most expensive one I bought that day.
It's not a huge difference, but it is the highest proof one.
114, yeah? No, 105. Sorry. Yeah, it's 105.
105, and the Architect is 104.
Yes.
So it's not, I mean, there's not a huge, and how much was the Architect? 60 some?
I would guess.
That's
I
the
would
one
guess.
that's not on
Yeah, that's the one I
yours.
can't find, but I kind of went with, I figured if Jeff's is selling everything else Penelope at close to MSRP, they must be selling that one close to MSRP. I can't imagine they'd mark up one and not the other.
But it usually runs cheaper, at least according to like BoozApp or whatever. It
Yes.
runs cheaper than the Tokoi.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I have to tell you, that was probably that was the funnest, not the funnest, but it was very enjoyable. So I had never seen that word before, and it's spelled Tokaji.
Yes.
So of course I don't want to come on here and sound like a fucking idiot, right?
No, I totally butchered it.
So I go Google it.
Yeah.
And because you can find all these websites that will pronounce words for you.
Correct.
And I am not ashamed. Like I use that thing on the regular.
Yes.
So I look, and the first thing you see is like all like there's Reddit, there's like
A lot of debate.
there's wine enthusiasts, there's like all these different articles, and evidently it is one of the most often mispronounced words in the wine industry.
Also debated?
Heavily
Yeah.
debated.
So not just mispronounced, like me looking at it for the first time without using any knowledge or having any knowledge.
I think I would have said Tokay. I think that's what I would have said.
When I first looked at it, I said Tokaji.
Right. Yes. Tokaji is also another thing that it looks like. Yes.
Like, that's what with no knowledge of anything about it, where it came from or
So
anything.
I hit the Google button.
Yes.
And I'm like, holy shit. Like,
There's
people
a
are
lot of debate.
People are fighting. Like, they are serious about this thing.
Wow.
That's what I was telling you. It got, well, I've been to Hungary. And I was like, wow. Like, okay. Like, yes, be right. Yes, if we're wrong, fix it.
But is it worth that much
But
energy?
man, like, that
is it worth that much energy?
it was a vibe for sure.
Wow.
And so
Does it say anything on their site?
no, I didn't see anything, and I don't know.
I would love to hear what they call it. Like how they
Money, baby. They
Yes.
call it money.
Yeah.
They call
Yeah,
it money.
yeah. But
they call it
maybe
score.
Maybe whenever they hear our podcast, because of course we tag them,
Right.
whenever we talk about them, and we know that they are aware of us to an extent, at least one of their people. But
It was our first celebrity TikTok interaction.
yes.
Well, I thought it was celebrity. I felt like we had been.
Oh, it was an awesome experience. It
Awesome
was so
experience.
much fun. But I wonder if they would grace us with
How they say
even a
it.
comment of here's the pronunciation of that we use.
This is how we say it.
This
So,
is our marketing name.
because they don't specifically have a pronunciation on the website. They
No,
do mention that
they
it's a
don't.
Hungarian wine.
Yes.
Like they do all that. But
Correct.
they don't have like a particular pronunciation. But I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
I was like, that's crazy. And then it reminds me, and I don't know if Catherine said it when she was on the show or if Catherine and I had just talked about it offline or whatever, but both of us had heard the same kind of adage where you just never make fun of anybody that mispronounces a word when they speak because you know that that they've read it somewhere.
Right.
Or
Or maybe just like me just now, maybe they have it and they're just trying to use the knowledge that they have of pronunciation.
That's what we're saying.
Oh,
Like you've
gotcha.
never heard it. Like
Yes.
you've never heard it spoken from somebody who is familiar, but you've read it before. And so that it's kind of a weird flex to say something to somebody about a different kind of word that you've pronounced wrong. I mean, unless it's orange.
Even the conversations that we've had in book club, especially when we're comparing someone who only read the book versus someone who listened to Audible.
Yes.
How many times have we been like, oh wait, that's how they pronounce that? Was it the Mirror Wife?
The
Is
Mirror
that
Wife,
the one
yes.
that was like a huge?
Yes.
I know that there's been a couple.
Yeah. Well,
But-
I mean, think about it. When the first Harry Potter movie came out, I was like, oh, that's how you say her name. Like, I've
Yes.
never known anybody named Hermione
No,
before. Like,
correct.
I would have never in a million years. Like, so anywho,
Completely agree.
I'm down for that one. I'm down to try that one if you wanna.
I think that it would just be fun because
Girl, it's always fun.
Well, yes, but we're always talking about our venture is to try something new. Mm-hmm. And so it's been a minute since our first taste of something ever was live. While we're being recorded.
Fair. That is an hell of a point, Reba. Hell of a point.
So, and I even want to dump my ice out because I want to do our fair.
Oh, I
our
agree.
fair
Oh, completely
tasting.
agree. Completely agree. I even want to wipe it out and warm
Yeah.
it up a little because it's cold,
Yes.
right? The
Yeah.
glass is cold.
Yep.
I almost want to use a whole different glass.
Well, stick it outside for a second and it'll warm right up.
It should.
Yes.
Except for I think what would happen is it would just rain in the glass, like the humidity. It would like a Winnie the
You
Pooh.
have an awning.
a Winnie the Pooh little. Oh my fucking god!
It's gonna give you the
No,
shape
stop.
of Eeyore's tail.
No,
because
stop.
the weather.
I have to tell you this. Oh my god! So I've been out. I shouldn't say this because people are going to go, of course she is. I have been out of therapy for quite some time. Right? Like we did all the work we could do, and like, okay, I'm good, ish. And so
I'm better now than I was before.
Than I've ever been before. And this is my little mental health note. I think everybody needs a great therapist. Everybody needs a great therapist for a minute, for a long time,
Whatever you need.
for once in a while. I think everybody needs a great therapist. I think I'm going to have to go back and see her now.
Uh-oh.
We're looking for a movie to watch.
Oh, shit. Just you and the husband?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Mike and I are looking for a movie to watch.
Okay.
Right? And I'm scrolling through. And you know, I have a long-standing, decades-long, root back to childhood adoration of Winnie the Pooh.
Yes.
One of it. Love.
Oh, you're talking about the horror movie.
Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Who the fuck?
Yeah. We watched the preview.
Oh
for
my
that.
god. Oh my god.
I know exactly. We, of course, did not watch the movie.
Oh.
Please tell me you did not
Fuck
watch that.
no.
Okay. I'm like, we did the same. Okay, we did
That
the
the
same
TV
thing.
is still intact, that I didn't throw the remote, is a testament to how great my therapist was. Mike, and so you know, my husband is a meat and potatoes kind of guy, right? Like, I think we've mentioned it before. Like, one of the times one of the kids was like, he's like, tell me about your day. And she does. And he stops her mid-sentence. He goes, wait, you're talking about feelings. You need to go talk to mom.
Yes.
Right? Like, so that is my husband.
Yes.
God love him.
100%.
He saw the preview at the same time I saw the preview, and that man got worried for me. Like, God bless
love
him.
that. I love that. I love
was-
hearing that.
Like, the look on his face
Yes.
was instant concern. Like, babe, stop. And I'm like,
Yes.
okay, so I understand.
Our child was with us when we watched the preview for that. And I'm like,
I understand why copyright laws are the way they are, 100 years, 70 years, whatever. And then it's what is it called? Like common public domain. So then it's like public domain. Like, I get it. I fucking get it. But there are some things that you should not be fucking allowed to do.
I agree.
This is one of them.
Yep. I agree.
Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
It was horrible.
Oh my god.
It was horrible.
Oh my god.
It was horrible.
So anywho,
I'm like,
I don't.
Why? We had the same conversation. We were all disturbed.
Completely
Like,
disturbed.
and-
Now, some
and-
stuff is funny, right?
A
Like,
majority
some-
of my family enjoys horror movies.
I used to.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
I can't do it. After my children hit a certain age, I can't. I really can't do them so much anymore. It has to be like ridiculous horror, right, for me to be okay with it. But the kid, like everybody knows, like once there's a kid in the mix, like I just can't.
Yeah.
It's super super tough for me. And I get it. Like, some of the public domain shit is funny. This is not funny.
Mm-mm.
This is not cute. Anyway, I digress.
It's not.
And
No,
I
agree.
I'm only digressing because it was like the way my brain went that I skipped right over is we were talking about like the little, because like the Winnie the Pooh, I'm just a little black rain cloud, right? When he was trying to hovering under the honey tree, right? Like, so, and that's what made me think of it. And then I was like, then that's where my brain went. You've been traumatized. And I'm like, fuck you, thanks.
And my brain went to this dreary weather and made me think of Eeyore. It's not a great tale, but it's my tale.
I love
You know?
God, love him.
Yes.
There's some...
When we were talking about what the humidity and the steam outside will do to our glasses, all I can picture is it like making a little emblem that looks like Eeyore's tail.
I love Eeyore.
I do too.
I love Eeyore. Winnie the Pooh is hands down.
That's one of the pins I have from Disney.
Pooh Bear's hands down my favorite. Tigger holds a special place because, you know, T.I. is probably somewhere in my husband's gene pool if I'm not if I was a betting woman, I'd put a lot of money on it.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I would agree.
All right, so let's get rid of these glasses. Let's
Yes,
figure
ma'am.
something out and let's open another bottle.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we're back. I'm only mildly over. The weather has moved out a little, and so I'm mildly over my Pooh Bear trauma. But I think this will help. So we
Yes.
did, Reba and I both opted for new glasses
Yes.
just because she's absolutely right. We haven't done a new taste in a minute.
Yes.
And I will tell you, just for bookkeeping's sake, that I have, you can notice by the Penelope bottle, there's a healthy pour
Yes.
in the Infinity bottle simply because it's so good that I think it just
Yes.
adds. Integrity of the Infinity bottle, yes, yes. So if this is your
Portion.
first, if this is your first time listening to us, we have a Bitches and Bourbon Infinity bottle where every whiskey we've ever done a podcast on is in the Infinity bottle. However, some whiskeys are better than others.
Correct.
And we would still like the Infinity bottle to be drinkable.
Yes.
So maybe I heavy poured the Penelope in there. And
Has this one went in yet?
no, because I haven't had it yet.
Okay, I agree.
So I
I
didn't.
appreciate that answer.
So I didn't
Yeah.
know. I didn't know how heavy to pour it.
I
And that's
appreciate
just
that. Especially
just
with
like,
it being overproof.
just like Penelope being very transparent about. Oh, and they used the word juice on the podcast. And for some reason, listening,
You were okay with it.
Yeah,
Yes.
for some reason, listening to the guys from Penelope say it, it just hit different because they didn't say it. Because they didn't say it when it was context, right? Which makes it not the same as the word moist, which in any context fucking sucks.
Can
Go.
I interrupt there? Because the kid and I are at the grocery store yesterday. I can't even remember what the hell it was. But they had that word in the name of their product.
Moist.
Yes.
It's
I
probably
said,
cake.
And I said, I bet they just lost sales because of so many people feeling some kind of way about the word, especially in connotation to like your food and like, I don't know. Anyways,
Yeah, I really
just
think
up that same line.
I really think at some point, because here's what's really funny is I know it's not just me.
Yes.
When Wordle had moist as its word of the day, and one person said, "This has got to be the most hated word in the English language,"
You knew what it was.
everybody knew what it was. Everybody knew. It wasn't just me.
Yes.
Everybody knew what it was. So that's my only one guess Wordle ever. But anyway, when he said juice, it just hit different.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Because he wasn't saying it like it was, and I guess maybe that comes with the transparency that Penelope has always had, right? They've always been super transparent about what they do. They've never claimed to be a distiller. I don't see anything on their bottle that suggests that they're trying to disguise the fact. As a matter of fact, if you go to their website, they have their partners at the bottom of the screen, and MGP is there.
Yes.
So they've never tried to be any kind of way, but completely transparent
Yes.
about what they're doing and where they're getting their booze from. And so I love that about them.
Very much appreciated.
So what we've done is we did both choose to get new glasses.
Yes.
And so now
I appreciate that this one is aged a little longer. Well, I guess there is no age statement officially for the straight, correct?
no, they do it by months. So that particular bottle,
Does it say it on the bottle?
that particular bottle that
26
26 months. Now the bottle that we had before was 33 months. So
Okay.
they're very transparent with their aging, and I appreciate that
Yes.
too. And so that's fine.
Very
And
specific.
very, very
Like
specific.
months.
So this one that we're fixing to try,
Yes.
is the Penelope
Tokoi.
Tokoi
Mm-hmm. Cask.
Tokai. Like, I just want to make
meet
sure.
'em all.
I just
We'll
wanna
meet
make-
'em all.
Yeah, like, I don't need anybody coming for me,
Yes.
right?
We don't know. We're making educated guesses.
Like,
Ish.
I've read all you guys.
Educated-ish.
I hear all of your points. Oh my God. There was one Reddit article that was going like into entomology and different language stresses and like, I'm like, whatever. Fine. This Tokaji, no. Come at me now.
Hey.
Come at me now. The Penelope Tokoi, and that's just how I'm going to say it from now on.
Yes.
Or I'm going to try to say it like that. I might get influenced. I don't know. But the Penelope Tokoi cask finish straight rye whiskey comes in at 105 proof. And that's
Wait.
what
Hang on. It's a rye?
it's a rye.
Ooh. I did not look at that, I guess, closely enough. I really just was focusing on the big letters
On the
and
cask,
the proof.
on the cask
The
finish.
big letters
yeah.
and the proof.
So do you think that's going to make you like it more or less?
So I'm going to be honest and say that I kind of wish I did not realize that it was a rye before I tasted it, but I'm going to keep my mind open because I typically don't. I'm not as much of a rye fan, and so
I too have a problem with finding higher ryes that I enjoy as well.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of felt when I learned that particular variation of the Hungarian rye wine was sweet. I felt the same way. So it's
still something new.
It is something new. So let's
Something
smell
new.
it.
Yes.
Let's smell it. It smells lovely.
It does not smell overly sweet.
It does not. It smells like something I want to drink right now.
Cheers. No further wait.
Yeah, but that doesn't sound as pretty as the Waterford glasses, but it'll do in a pinch.
So this is very interesting, and I like it.
The proof will numb your mouth.
I feel like it's a very nice balance overall.
Architect is still my favorite.
But would you consider this to be too sweet for you?
No. The sweet
I'm glad to hear that.
No.
Because then I'd be like, what is my sweet radar?
No. It just hit my solar plex.
Yes.
It is nummy in the mouth and super warm right there in the center of my chest.
But nothing uncomfortable, nothing of...
No. It is. I will tell you this. I wish I would have eaten something today. It doesn't taste like a hangover. So
You can definitely tell that it is overproof.
Reba and I discussed that. That is one of our. If you ever have a fruity drink and you want us to taste it, that is probably the one way we'll describe it. Is that tastes like a hangover?
Yes.
This one tastes like I wish I would have eaten something.
Because it will get you in trouble.
It is definitively a strong. It's a strong drink.
Yeah.
So don't let the wine finish fool you, fellas. If you've got any
No.
kind of reservation. Speaking of finishes, no, go ahead. But don't let me forget because this needs to be
Yes.
This needs to go into the definitely circle back time.
While you were saying, don't let the wine finish fool you, with that same thing, don't try to talk your wife into, taste this one because it has a wine finish, and so it's probably on the sweeter side.
Because you would have never known it.
Very misleading.
Very misleading. You would because
and honestly, I'm not even knowing before I tasted it that it's a rye. This is not one that I feel is, and I think I can say this confidently. It's not because I've already had some. It's not influenced. I don't even feel like this is like your typical rye profile either. It's, you can definitely tell the difference. Okay, like when we were talking last week about this is your most bourbon-y bourbon. Yes, this is not that flavor profile.
No.
Like you can tell the difference, but when comparing it or thinking about other ryes that we've had, I feel this is not as rye flavor profile as some of the others.
And so, like, if you noticed that Reba kind of backed up mid-sentence and explained herself more, it's because I can't stop my face from doing what my face does. And I need to try to do that when we record because
Nobody can see it.
nobody can see it, and so you don't understand why because this is one of those times I'm going to disagree. Like I think that it's exactly what I expect a rye to taste like. I think it's why I like the Architect better. And here's the real truth. When I think about the Architect, I don't even know what that mash bill is. I
Yeah.
have no idea what the rye content.
Do you remember what it is specifically that you really enjoyed about?
I think that, yes, I do. It's an overproofed whiskey
Yes.
that has a really...
Because I don't think I was as big of a fan for the Architect.
It's an overproof... Okay, so remember we were talking about my husband and he's that guy, right? So...
Thinking about your wording.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So he is that guy, and I am that girl, and we are that couple. And so, like, my husband does not apologize. He
Yes.
does not. And he will tell, like, and I can either choose to listen to what he says or I can choose to listen to what he means. And I love him, and we've been together, like, we met in 1995, right? So I know him. So I know he's not going to apologize. Very rarely does he apologize. But what he will do is he'll look at me and he'll go, "Are you done being mad?" Which means I'm sorry. Or what he'll do is like, "Okay, come here," and I'll come there and he'll like rub my butt. Or I'll walk past him and he'll smack my ass. Like
Yes.
those are the things. Like those,
We're past this.
Like those are my things.
Or we're getting past this.
Well, it's hey, look, everybody has these moments, but this is still who we are as people. Right? Like that's what it is.
Yep.
Like this is not earth-shattering, relationship breaking. Like
Right.
this is
This
not
is
that.
not ruining anything.
But this ass smack is who we are.
Yes.
Right? That's
back
what
to us.
That's what the Architect is. Like it is an overproof smack that I enjoy. Like sometimes we'll do the overproof and it punches you in the face. The jute joint comes to mind. The Blue Note. The
Yes,
Blue Note,
Blue
right?
Note.
The Blue Note comes to mind.
Definitively.
Where it smacks you in the face and you're like, holy shit, wasn't ready for that. But the Architect doesn't do that for me. I think that's what I like about the Architect. It's that overproof, here I am.
Here I am.
And I probably shouldn't say this because Penelope probably does not want this attached to any of their bourbons at all, but I don't care because I'm going to say it. It's really got like this alpha male energy.
Yes.
It really has.
I agree.
That
Probably the most
respectful,
of any.
respectful alpha
Yes.
male energy,
Yes.
right?
Not
not
wait in the
toxic.
truck stories.
I don't know. I kind of like that story.
Well, you know what I mean.
But we're not talking about red flag toxic
Yes.
male energy,
Yes.
which I could go on a whole diatribe about how much
Yes.
all of those things irritate me.
Right.
Not the things, but like just the wording itself. But what I mean is like it just has that really strong
Flavor profile.
profile that's like, but it's still, it doesn't feel threatening. There you go.
Yeah, I
That's
like
what
that.
it is.
Okay.
It's a strong flavor profile that does not feel threatening.
I
That's
appreciate
what
that
I love.
description.
That's what I love about the Architect. And I just really like it. This one is not sweet so much as it is. It's very interesting. It's good. It's
That's
good.
what I said. It's very interesting.
It doesn't do anything that deters my Penelope opinion. Like I still trust
Yes.
everything these guys do.
Agreed.
It is probably my least favorite Penelope I've ever had. However,
I would disagree.
That's fine. but and I'm going to let you. But
Yeah.
but I feel because I love them so much, I want to preface that or post that with the bar is really high,
Yeah.
right? Like if it's the least, it's like saying
You talking about of all?
of all the Penelopes I've ever had, this is probably my least favorite. But there's a couple of them. Actually, I think the Rosé is the only one we haven't had.
No,
It's up
we
there.
have had it.
The Rosé?
We've had all of them except for this one. This is the only
When
one.
did we have the Rosé?
Husband got it.
I don't remember the Rosé. It's not
We
on my
have had-
spreadsheet. It's not on
Well,
my spreadsheet.
No, it was not. It was like a dinner bottle.
Never. I don't remember that one. I don't have an empty. I don't have anything. I'm telling you, there's no, like, this is like vanilla. This is vanilla sky shit.
Maybe we discussed getting it and he didn't, but I thought for sure that we've had it.
This is vanilla sky stuff
Okay.
because we don't have an empty. I don't remember it. It's not on the spreadsheet. Like, none of the things that we do.
Now I want to ask. He doesn't remember for sure. Says, we've drank everything everyone makes, he thinks.
Except for we haven't.
No.
So
And
I think we need to go with that we haven't
sarcastic.
had it.
Okay, we'll go with that. Then
There's
does
no.
that mean we're trying a third bottle today? I would like to try this on ice.
Oh, for sure. Oh, I would love
sorry.
to try that on ice.
For the podcast world, I would like to try the Tokaji on ice. Because we gave our opinion with it neat. And we even got whole new glasses.
Whole new glasses. All right.
And
Ice.
so,
Ice it
time.
is. Ice it is.
Ice time.
That should be the new sound that says we're back with ice.
It definitely needs to be like somewhere.
I like it. I like it. All right.
Cheers.
So this is the Tokaji cask on ice.
On ice.
I like it more.
Which is common.
I like
Which
it
is
more.
common.
I like it more. It lightens it. It's not so heavy for me.
I feel like I taste more of the rye.
Yes. Yes. I would definitively agree with that.
And that's probably why I like it less. Personally.
No, it's fine. Because the last episode, when we put that rabbit hole, the Daringer on ice, we liked it less. But, like I said, I am not paid for this.
No.
Penelope, MGP.
We don't get any.
You could.
Anything.
You absolutely
we don't
could.
even get any, like, free tours. Like, can you imagine what a tour would do to our knowledge?
Right. So we, like, nothing. So when I tell you how much I love Penelope and everything they do, it's completely non-compensated.
Yes.
So I feel like
We don't even have a free bottle.
no,
Like, there's nothing.
No, we've paid for everything.
Yes.
We've paid for everything.
Correct.
So I do. I like this more on ice than I do neat. And I just think it lightens it. It opens it, and I do. I just like it better.
Yeah, I understand.
And while we were getting ice, Reba and I have established that we have not had the rosé before.
We can't confirm.
No, Reba, we've already been through this.
Okay.
Oh my God, that's what I was going to tell you.
That just means we have to try another one now.
That's what I was going to tell you.
Yes.
No, when I told you we had to
Finish.
circle back. We
Finish.
had to circle back
to the finish.
and we were talking about you were talking about something about flavored something. Oh, Penelope flavors, and these aren't. And what we're talking when you talk about cask finishes, you're not talking about flavors. You are talking that the whiskey is going to pull the flavor from the cask that's been in there before, but it's not what you would consider flavored. Like when you're looking at like Bird Dog. Bird Dog has a lot of.
Yeah, no.
But I do. I love the Bird Dog peach and hot toddies.
That's not what I meant by
But that's what
flavored
we're-
in this.
Yes, but that is not the same as flavored.
Correct. Sorry.
Penelope, and I haven't seen it yet, and it's been, I think, a year in the making. But Penelope partnered with a cider maker, and we all know I hate ciders, but they've partnered with a cider maker to where they send their new barrels, charred or otherwise, I'm not really sure. I'm assuming it would have to be charred. Anyway, I don't know. Anyway, they're sending these barrels to Ironclad Cider. And Ironclad is filling them with honey.
Okay, Penelope is sending barrels to Ironclad, who's filling them with honey.
New barrels.
New barrel. Okay.
Charred or otherwise, I don't
Gotcha.
really know about that part. But they're sending these new barrels to Ironclad Cider. They're filling them with honey and letting the honey kind of ruminate.
Do what it does.
Mm-hmm. And then Ironclad is pouring all the honey out and using that to make their cider. And then Penelope, theoretically, because I haven't seen it yet, will use those barrels to finish their whiskey. And the reason I thought it was interesting was because when I was searching down this research idea,
Yeah.
I found a Facebook post where Penelope was talking about this particular partnership. And some guy evidently has nothing better to do.
We know how that goes.
Because it felt completely unrelated. It felt completely unrelated because the guy was like, I understand what you're trying to do here. Like, you don't need to compare yourself to Jack Daniels. You're so much better than Jack Daniels. Like, you don't even need to whatever. And the only thing I can assume is the Jack Honey.
Honey, yes.
Which is ridiculous because I haven't had the Jack Honey, but I have had the Jack Fire. And if you're looking for a cinnamon whiskey, the Jack Fire is the best thing on the market, period.
Yes. Please go to that before you go to Fireball or anything like that.
If you're still drinking Fireball, you're an idiot. Oh, God, that's probably... No. I said what I said.
We have said more than once, if Fireball was the only thing available,
I'd be a
alcohol-wise,
I'd drink cough syrup.
Yes,
I'd be drinking Robitussin.
We would not be drinking alcohol.
So
we have already said that.
So Jack Fire is the best cinnamon whiskey on the market.
Okay.
Like Jack Daniels, say what you want to about them.
We've enjoyed
They're
a lot.
consistent.
Yes.
They're consistent. They have name power. Like, say what you want. Jack Daniels is a fine bottle.
Agreed.
So, but he was like, you don't even need to. And he's like, yeah, we hear. And Penelope, their great diplomat who's ever running their social media, was like, we hear what you're saying. And it's not the comparison's not what we're doing, whatever. And he's like, yeah, because you don't even need to bring yourself down to their level. And I'm like, oh, my God.
That's not. Why? Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, what the fuck ever. And so it sent me down another research thing. Somehow, I don't know how I ever even got there. But did you know that Jack Daniels was in the Supreme Court? Yes. So Jack Daniels had a case. Jack Daniels has a case in the Supreme Court.
Like currently or previously?
Currently.
Okay.
Like this just came out in June. Like just now. So there's a dog toy. There's a dog toy that is shaped like a Jack Daniels bottle. And it has all of the Jack Daniels markings, like the black label with the white piping in the same type of way, right? And it's called Bad Spaniels on Your Tennessee Carpet. And instead of old number 7, where the Jack Daniels has old number 7 on their black label, it has old number 2.
So just to confirm, they're in court because Jack Daniels took the dog toy company to court over
Correct.
over their branding.
Correct. So Jack Daniels takes his company to court. Good for them.
Yes.
What did they called it? And speaking of words we've never heard before, somebody calls it scatological humor. And
like categories bullshit?
No, like scat, like animal scat, like shit. Like shit. Scatological humor. I think I just killed Reba. Scatological humor. So Jack Daniels takes this company to court, and they're like, you're violating our trademark.
Can you imagine their attorneys?
I really just want to see somebody say scatological in court is really what I want to see. So Jack Daniels takes this company to court, and the court's like, it's parody, like this is non-commercial use, like whatever.
You don't have permission.
No, the company is saying like this is just.
Sorry,
you're fine. Mm. No, the company is just saying like this is parody, like this is covered under non-commercial use, like or whatever.
It should be like Weird Al Yankovic approved.
Correct. Like, this should be fine. Like, this should be fine. Jack Daniels says, fuck you. It's not fine.
It is too much related.
Right. And so...
Is there something that says, like, there's so many ticks you got to check to say it's this much related?
Correct.
I believe that.
It is. And that's what's very interesting about the Supreme Court ruling. Because, so what happens is, obviously, this is not a case that goes directly, like, no, like, very few, I don't know of any cases, I could be wrong, that go directly to the Supreme Court.
Right.
So a lower court ruled in favor of the company that made this toy. And Jack Daniels was like, absolutely not. And so this case has made it
escalated
to the Supreme Court.
Can you imagine the
to the
headlines?
Supreme Court. So then the Supreme Court says no. And the Supreme Court ruling was very, very, it was unanimous first.
That's huge.
It was it's not as huge as one would think.
Okay.
So the Supreme Court hears a lot of cases, and a lot of them are unanimous because one of the things that the Supreme Court likes to do is they like to present, they're really like mom and dad, right? Because the truth is that the Supreme Court is made up of Republicans and Democrats, but nobody wants to say that because they're supposed to be this nonpartisan body of our government, right? Yes. But the truth is,
representing the people as a whole.
That's not how it is. There's Republicans and there's Democrats, right? So what the Supreme Court tries really, really hard to do is present this front that we present as parents, right? Like, you have mom and dad.
So
and the kids know.
It's supposedly
a united front.
United front.
Correct.
And, like,
and the kids
even
know,
if there's...
And the kids know there's some things you ask mom,
medium.
and there's some things you ask dad, right? But you can't ask both, right? Like, that's the rule. You ask mom, and
if you take your chances of asking the other.
one of my kids calls it the art of selective parent asking. And she knows, she's got it down to an art. She's like, these things go to dad. These things go to mom. And so that's what they do.
And I almost want to take a bet
it's
on
the baby.
Which kid.
It's the baby. You don't have to bet. It's the baby. She's got years of experience, and she has siblings, right? So her own years of experience.
And I'm sure a lot of that going on right now.
Correct. So the Supreme Court attempts at every possible avenue to provide a united front. So there's a lot more.
To some kind of agreement.
There's more unanimous decisions that you would think. And the split decisions are almost always split by a very narrow margin, right? So this particular Supreme Court decision was unanimous, but the decision was very narrow, right? Like, they didn't say, so evidently there's some test, and I don't know anything about what I'm talking about right now, but we
don't know the checklist.
I have no idea. But there is one.
Yes.
And it's called the Rogers test. And whatever that is and whatever that entails, I have no idea, because honestly,
now you got my brain working.
Honestly, I was so tickled by the fact that Jack Daniels was in court over a dog
a dog toy comparison.
Scatological toy, which really means poop toy, right? Like, which really means it's a shit toy. Like, it's a toy that's like a poopy, whatever. But it was very narrow. Anyway.
Okay.
Which is why I love doing what we do.
Yes.
That is why I love, and it dovetails perfectly into that podcast I listened to with these guys today, because they talked about the exact same thing.
Yeah.
We just do what we do. We love what we do. And it all just kind of like moves around. Even if
eventually comes together in some way.
Even
in some way.
Even if it's jalapeno bourbon, right? like even if it's jalapeno bourbon.
Yeah.
That's what it all comes back to. So I think what I want to do now is I do not want to do the Rosé cask, because I don't think we'll do it justice. I really don't.
I agree.
I really don't think we'll do it justice.
I would agree.
So what I want to do now is tell you, I love Penelope.
Yes. We've always enjoyed conversations and time spent over bottles in bottles
on
of
the bedside
Penelope.
table. On the bedside table.
In any manner. You
Love it.
drinking straight from the bottle at a bar. Like,
That
we
really
have
was a
always-
great picture.
We have
do you remember the
always-
bartender?
I do.
Because it wasn't. We're not talking about a dive bar.
No.
like we're talking about a swanky little downtown attached to a swanky little hotel.
Following this special Bourbon Club production.
Correct. And he's like, just don't let anybody see you. And I'm like, there's only a swallow left. And I felt like
And
Harlem Nights. I did. I felt
he
like
stuffed
that-
it in our bag.
I felt like a Harlem Nights, right? Because he was like, if it's just a fucking swallow, just swallow it then, right? When she's talking about the orange juice, right? Who left a swallow in the refrigerator? Just fucking swallow it then. And so, like,
Just be done with it and move on.
like the bottle was almost empty, and I just
Yes,
wanted to finish it.
it
and
was.
he's like, just don't let anybody see
And
you.
it made
and I'm
the
like,
perfect
the
picture.
perfect picture. And here is to another perfect pour. Thanks for hanging out with Ape and Reba on this episode of Bitches and Bourbon.
Make sure to check out the links in the show notes, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Until next time, here's to bad bitches and good bourbon.
Cheers.
I mean, you have to like spicy pickle.